Financial Inclusion Forum of Africa, which brings together people and organizations passionate in promoting innovative solutions to financial inclusion across the continent. The Center for Financial Inclusion at Action to help shape minds on a number of themes when it comes to finance. So they're promoting responsible borrowing, how to detect fraud and avoid it, transparency, issues on recourse. All these issues will be dealt with in the next 13 weeks. So you'll be hearing resource people on this program talking about this, that, or the other in relation to financial inclusion. So this morning we're going to start by hearing a short skit for radio. It's a very typical situation that you may be facing or we face in the way we go about borrowing. And when we come back, we'll be having a conversation with the exec director of the Ghana Microfinance Institutions Network, Yao Jemfi, on what lessons we can draw from this particular episode. So watch out for this in the coming weeks. All right, so let's hear the quick skit and then we'll come back and do a quick discussion on it.
Kojo J is seen in handcuffs with two police officers and a man in a suit. They enter the police station. Another policeman, who is an inspector, ushers them into an office. There, we see an inscription on the door of the office. It reads, Chief Superintendent. They enter the office.
I will take it from here. Thank you, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Can you please take the cuffs off his hands? He's not a thief. He just borrowed some money.
Yes, sir.
The inspector removes the handcuffs from Kojo J's wrist and stands aside.
Thank you, sir.
He offers both Kojo J and the man in the suit a seat.
Take a seat, young man. Thank you, too.
They both sit and we hear a knock on the door. A woman enters with a police officer behind her.
Good afternoon, sir. This is Joy Chan, Mr. Ajay's sister.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Welcome, madam. Please sit down.
The police officer leaves.
Yes, that is my only brother.
You are welcome, madam.
I came back home from work to meet the house almost empty. I thought we were robbed, but a neighbor informed me that the police came to arrest my brother and most of our household appliances were carried away in addition to the car. Kojo, what is the problem?
Well, that's why he's here, and we are here to settle this case.
The superintendent turns to the man in the suit.
Mr. Aford, the complainant, and Mr. J, the accused. Now, Mr. Aford, tell me what the problem is.
I was here 3 months ago for a breach of contract on the payment of a loan, which Mr. J took from my company, Nara Savings and Loans, and he was given an extra month's pardon. Just last month, a day before he was due to repay the loan, he had come to me begging for 1 extra month because he had family issues, and here we are in the second month at the police station.
What? Kojo, this is about a loan?
Sis, I'm sorry.
Sorry about what, Kojo?
About the fact that he went for a loan without my consent.
Interesting. Anyway, my questions are, how much did he borrow? And that goes to you, Mr. Aford. And to you, Kojo, what did you use the money for?
It was 100,000 Ghana cedis, and he used his house and everything in it as collateral. But because he is a friend, I didn't take the actual papers of the house from him. Unknown to me, the house belonged to his sister. So I'm at a loss and
that is why you are here. But have you got any sealed or signed agreement papers?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay. Now, Kojo, is the money locked up in businesses or what?
People owe me a lot of money. But I never signed agreements with them because I wasn't a savings and loans company. And the money that is in debt adds up to about 250,000 Ghana cedis. And that is one main reason why I went for this loan, because I thought my business partners would pay me before the 6-month period was up. But I was disappointed. Also, my business is on the verge of collapse since last year.
What? And you bought me a new car on my birthday?
Because you needed it.
Jesus, Kojo, why didn't you tell me about it?
Because I swore to Mom before she died to take care of you no matter what the situation was.
Oh, God.
Don't tell me that's what you used the borrowed money for.
Yes, I bought 2 cars with it because my sister and I needed cars after she lost everything when her shop got burnt. Then I paid my office bills, the mortgage on the house with the outstanding fees for my master's programs with the remaining money because I owed the school since last year and I couldn't create any more excuses for not being able to pay. Although my business partners caused this through their failure to pay my share of the business earnings.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hayford. Can I have some time to pay off this mess? I've got 50,000 Ghana cedis in my account and I can pay half of the debt with my money. Then I can complete the repayment after 6 months so that my brother doesn't go to jail and he can help me finish paying his debt.
Oh, Kojo, I'm disappointed in you. I thought you knew better. And the sad part is that you bought 2 cars when you could have made do with 1. Oh!
I'm so sorry. I didn't want any of you to see me as a failure for being unable to catch up with my friends in life. I'm sorry, sis.
I guess this case is solved. Or
After 6 months, if you are unable to pay, you are going to jail. I would take no excuses. What an irresponsible way of borrowing.
Okay, Mr. Hayford, please calm down. Inspector, get me a final witness agreement sheet for both parties to sign one last payment agreement. If you breach this one as well, Mr. Kojo AJ, you will surely go to court.
Yes, sir.
The inspector brings the paper. Mr. Hayford and Kojo signs after reading through a while. Mr. Hayford turns to Adre-chan, thank her, and leave. Kojo and Adre-chan thank the superintendent and step out of the office. Then, Kojo turns to Adre-chan.
Adra, I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. This will never happen again. I will never borrow for such a foolish reason. As for keeping up appearances or whatever, never again.
The first thing we need to do when we get home is to sell those cars. Then we'll think of how to pay the remaining money. And I'm sure it comes with interest.
Yes, 25%.
What? Jeez! Kojo! The next time you seek out to acquire a loan, the most important thing to do first is to 1. Access your capacity to pay back the loan before you go for it. 2. Calculate the amount to be paid to see if you can afford to pay before the deadline. 3. Understand the terms and conditions gathering the payment of the loan before you sign any undertaking. And don't waste the loan on nothing that yields no interest for the payment of the debt you have.
Thanks, sis.
Also control your debt. Don't let it control you. We will finish this conversation at home. Let's go.
24 minutes past the hour of 9. So that was a pretty short skit trying to explain a couple of things. So I have in studio Yao Jemfi, who is the executive director of the Ghana Microfinance Institutions Network, also known as GAMFIN. Yao, thanks for coming on the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Bernard.
So let's talk about what we've just heard. We learned Kojo is having difficulties paying back his loan, and this is very, very common. Let's talk about the common reasons why people find themselves in Kojo's situation.
I think the key thing is that these situations do happen from 3 perspectives. From the client angle, from the financial institution angle, and then from the environment. Now, if you pick the financial institution, largely if the assessment that one has to go through before you get a loan is not done properly, you end up finding yourself in this situation. Because once they do it well, they are able to determine your repayment capacity, as well as they are able to tell whether the business that you run can really get in some inflows to repay the loans. From the client perspective, they usually take loan for certain purposes. For instance, for the purpose of upgrading or doing something with the business. Then they end up doing it, diverting the loan to do other things. For instance, some use for hospital bills, for wedding engagements, and other things. And there are times they also push it to construction within the house, home improvement sort of. And so once these things happen, then you find it difficult getting enough to repay the loan. And largely, it puts most people in bad shape.
So Kojo in the skit alleges that he did not sign an agreement or loan contract with the institution, contrary to the position of the staff of the financial services provider. So the question is, how important is it to understand the loan contract before signing the so-called terms and conditions document?
The loan contract is the major document that determines what you've actually done with a financial institution. In other words, it establishes the relationship. And these contracts really spells out your responsibility by taking the loan from both angles, from the financial institution and then the angle of the client. And so largely, if you don't have that and anything happens, then you find yourself in very difficult waters for both the client and the financial institutions. So there are times people will take matters to court and the court ends up dismissing it. All these documents are proven documents that you need once you get into any contract.
So what's the role of financial services providers in helping their clients avoid this type of over-indebtedness and putting themselves in a difficult situation?
I think that the first thing, as I said earlier on, you need to do a proper assessment or appraisal of your client. Once you get it right, you are sure of about 75% of not losing the loan, unless something happens along the way, which might not be necessarily the cause of the business that the person is doing. Most times, what you do is that you do assessment to check the repayment capacity of that person, whether they've not borrowed from any other angle that they cannot pay or they owe other institutions. And you can do so by checking with the credit bureaus and then even with the collateral registry at the Bank of Ghana. Once you get these things properly done, at least you've done a good job to say that you are sure of getting your money back. But if you don't do that and then you rush in selling the product to the client, they end up not being able to pay. And once they start using their livelihood to pay, for instance, if the equipment that I use, if let's say I operate a restaurant and I start selling my cooking utensils before I can pay you, then I'm heading towards over-indebtedness. So this usually, once we don't do the right things, it leads to underfinancing or overfinancing, which gradually puts them into the over-indebtedness position.
In terms of this Kojo guy, doesn't he have agency in controlling his own debt? I mean, what are some of the rules of agency that you may have to think about before deciding to take up a loan?
I think the first thing is that we should all be very truthful to ourselves for us to be able to know exactly our repayment capacity. And then again, you have to look at your cash flow by looking at the kind of business you do. How often do you get money? Is the money enough to pay a certain amount of loans? Once you are able to get these things right and then you are sincere and transparent to the financial institutions, then they will be able to do an assessment that will best fit what you are looking for.
Now, from the skit, it was interesting that Kojo's sister, Adjoa, says she was not aware that her brother had used her household item as part of the collateral for the loan. So, what is the practice? Do members of households have to be informed, and do they have to give written consent before such items are used as collateral?
I'll say yes. Yes, in the sense that once we have, let's say, a property together, and then I'm going to pledge that property for a loan, you should be aware. And then again, once you are aware, you should also know the consequences if I'm not able to pay. And so it was wrong on the part of Kojo not informing the household before he went to acquire the loan with such equipment and then properties that he had.
Some people think that financial institutions, the competition that exists between them, contributes to over-indebtedness at the market level. Is this correct? If it is, what can we do to deal with it?
It is correct to some extent. Correct in the sense that, we are all competing for the same type of clients. And then once that is happening, a lot of institutions come with conditional sales. They say, once you save with us or you take a loan from us, I'll give you this for free. Those things are things that salespeople use to lure clients. And once they get the client into their fold, a lot of these clients also go for more without even looking at where they will get the resource to repay the loans. And so my advice to financial institutions is that we should be clear when it comes to product features for the client to know exactly what they are going in for, so that at the end of the day, they will not come back and blame the financial institution. I didn't know this.
So, Doc, what's the biggest lesson for today based on the skit we just heard? What are your concluding thoughts?
I think my biggest lesson to all of us is that once we go in for loans, let us understand the loan conditions and terms properly before we append signatories to it. And then once that is done, then we are 100% sure that we are in for things that we can actually pay for, not necessarily getting the loan and then later on we realize that the terms and conditions do not favor us. So we should be very open to the financial institutions and also know our responsibilities as clients.
Thank you very much, Jemfi. He is the Executive Director of the Ghana Microfinance Institutions Network, GAMFIN. And it's part of the SMART campaign, Get Smart About Your Finance, brought to you by the Financial Inclusion Forum of Africa, with support from ASEAN Center for Financial Inclusion. This is to help you understand how financial service providers relate with you, the responsibilities they have towards you, and the ones you have to them, to educate and empower you, to help you understand the market context and the challenges. These are important things to do in times like these. So next week, you're going to hear more from this particular group.